A long-dead supreme saint suddenly reveals his surviving soul power and casually crushes the azure ancient profound bird with a single palm, proving he was never truly gone. The moment the azure ancient profound bird appeared, the giant dragon next to the Saint Meteorite Mountain let out a furious roar. Its aura skyrocketed, and in an instant its strength had risen to a whole new level. The giant dragon's lantern-sized eyes stared at the huge wings that blotted out the sky and covered the sun without any emotion. Its body was covered in raging flames, as if it was going to burn all the living beings in the world. At the same time, it was roaring continuously. Xiaoyan looked at the huge wings in the sky in shock and felt a wave of dizziness in front of his eyes. What was going on? Even the azure ancient profound bird was drawn out. A sharp cry seemed to have come from the 9 heavens. As the huge wings flapped, the azure ancient profound bird's body shrunk rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it shrunk to 1,000 meters in size. Due to the fact that there were very few ancient trees within 10,000 miles of St. Meteorite Mountain, Xiaoyan could clearly see the face of the protector of forest domain. What entered his eyes was an extremely huge black sparrow. The black feathers on its body were shining with a dazzling light, making it look extremely beautiful. At the same time, strands of black flames were dancing around the black sparrow, and some fragments of the space where the black flames passed fell to the ground. The tail of the azure ancient profound bird was not a single black feather. Instead, it had long feathers like a phoenix tail, making it look extremely elegant. The fire dragon looked at the nearby azure ancient profound bird, pondering for a moment before suddenly saying, "It really is you, little black bird. I haven't seen you for 10,000 years. Your strength is still at the same level." The azure ancient profound bird was startled when it heard this. A moment later, an extremely cold female voice came out from the latter's mouth. "I never thought that you would really be alive. The great battle 10,000 years ago almost destroyed the forest domain. What do you want to do today?" Hearing the cold voice of the azure ancient profound bird, Xiaoyan was stunned. He didn't expect the powerful guardian of the forest domain to be a female. Xiaoyan shook his head. With his strength that was not even an ant in the eyes of the azure ancient profound bird, he could actually hear the true voice of the azure ancient profound bird. It was like a dream. When the fire dragon heard this, he sneered. "With your strength, even if I wanted to do something, can you stop me? How dare you? Do you think this was 10,000 years ago?" As one of the guardians of the forest domain, the azure ancient profound bird naturally had its own pride. In the battle of the 4 saints 10,000 years ago. Not to mention her, even the other guardians, who were stronger than her, wouldn't dare to interfere. A single supreme saint could easily kill a few heavenly sovereign warriors, let alone 4 of them who had gone crazy. Ordinary supreme saints wouldn't dare to interfere, and they would hide as far away as they could. However, the fire dragon had obviously suffered damage to its origin, and its strength wasn't even 1/10 of its original strength. With the azure ancient profound bird's pride, of course, it instantly became furious. The fire dragon sneered. "How dare you appear in front of King 10,000 years ago?" These words were no different from adding oil to the fire. How many years had it been? Even the elders of the barbarian domain, who were famous for their brute force, would have to be polite to him if they met him. Now that this little fire dragon was mocking her, the azure ancient profound bird immediately let out a few sharp cries. Black flames burst forth from its body as if it wanted to incinerate the void. The fire dragon's eyes instantly turned serious. The current azure ancient profound bird was much stronger than him. He was afraid that he would be seriously injured in just a single exchange. However, this black bird was too arrogant. If he didn't teach it a lesson, things wouldn't be easy for him in the future. With a thought, the fire dragon's huge dragon body suddenly started twisting. Flames were burning crazily all over its body, causing the space around it to sway slightly. The monstrous flames illuminated the sky, turning it red like a flaming cloud. Behind the soul-stirring beauty was an endless sense of danger. The aura of the azure ancient profound bird was a little stronger than the fire dragon. Each feather was like a sharp sword that pierced through the sky, containing a force that could destroy the heaven and earth. At this moment, the azure ancient profound bird spread its wings that blotted out the sky and covered the sun. In an instant, the sky darkened and the light on the wings circulated rapidly. Rays of light that caused the heaven and earth to tremble shot out with a loud bang. Even though Xiaoyan was protected by the qi of intimidation, he still felt an endless pressure from the qi of the two ancient ferocious beasts. The vast and ocean-like qi rushed down from the sky, causing Xiaoyan's breathing to become rapid. His legs were slightly bent, and his entire body was drenched in sweat. Soon his clothes were soaked. His lips were tightly clenched by his teeth, and traces of blood flowed out. Xiaoyan's eyes were unusually bright when he was enduring the qi of Hao Han, which made his 5 viscera and 6 stomachs feel uncomfortable. In his lower abdomen, the origin monarch crystal was slowly circulating. With the help of the qi of intimidation, he quietly absorbed the qi of the fire dragon and the azure ancient profound bird into his body to refine them. Just as the two parties were about to fight, the brown flame on the huge egg behind the fire dragon suddenly burst into a sea of fire. The raging flame turned into a fire dragon. The fire dragon moved its body. Hong Long. The moment the fire dragon came into contact with St. Meteorite Mountain, it turned into a sky full of fire threads and melted between heaven and earth. In the next moment, under the surprised eyes of the fire dragon and the azure ancient profound bird, St. Meteorite Mountain suddenly moved. A vast aura that could pierce through the blue sky spread down from the top of the mountain, carrying an incomparable pressure as it rushed between the fire dragon and the azure ancient profound bird. This aura was extremely majestic and vast, like an endless ocean. In comparison, the aura of the fire dragon and the azure ancient profound bird was somewhat unbearable to look at. The moment the qi appeared, the two mountain-like qi pressing on Xiaoyan's body instantly vanished. Then, under Xiaoyan's shocked gaze, Hao Han's qi slowly condensed into a blurry head. At the same time, an aged voice slowly sounded as if it could crush the sky. Azure ancient profound bird, it was the little dragon who acted rashly just now. I hope you can bear with it and not see me off. The moment his voice sounded, the azure ancient profound bird did not wait for it to cry out in shock. This extremely sharp aura suddenly changed. It turned into a 10,000 feet large empty palm. The giant palm was pushed out horizontally without a trace of power. But in the next moment, the space in front of the huge palm collapsed inch by inch. The black hole that could make one's heart tremble was revealed. The azure ancient profound bird was like a little black bird in front of the huge palm, without any resistance. After a wail, the huge figure disappeared in an instant. Looking at the broken huge palm, Xiaoyan was shocked and his brows suddenly twitched. This energy was so familiar, it was soul energy, soul energy. Sensing the power contained in the giant palm, it sent a forest domain guardian flying far away with just one palm. How powerful was this soul power? Xiaoyan couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Under this soul attack, Zhao Qingshan's monarch emperor level soul was like a drop in the ocean. While Xiaoyan was exclaiming, he suddenly thought of something. His expression changed dramatically as he looked at the image condensed from his qi. Wasn't that ultimate saint expert dead? How could there still be soul energy? Before Xiaoyan could figure it out, the image suddenly dissipated. After that, Xiaoyan felt his vision go black and he lost consciousness. At the same time, the 3,000-foot-long fire dragon and the huge egg disappeared at the same time as the image disappeared. St. Meteorite Mountain trembled slightly before returning to normal. Northern forest domain in the sky above the large forest that had been peaceful for 10,000 years. The space suddenly shattered. In the next moment, a 10,000 feet large black sparrow shot out from the space. It flew for tens of thousands of miles before stabilizing its body. The azure, ancient, profound bird looked towards the southeast with lingering fear. When it thought of that simple and unadorned palm, it trembled slightly. After a long while, it screamed, "Impossible." Didn't he die 10,000 years ago? How can he still have consciousness? The furious roar that contained the aura of a heavenly sovereign sounded like thunder, causing the countless spirit beasts below to let out a miserable cry. Their bodies exploded, turning into a ball of blood that danced in the air. After a long time, a powerful consciousness came from the far south. With a flap of the azure, ancient, profound bird's huge wings, this consciousness entered his mind. "Sister Sparrow, what's wrong? It's so big." Hearing this deep and powerful voice, the azure, ancient, profound bird coldly snorted and said, "The supreme saint who died 10,000 years ago, he actually still has consciousness. Just now, when I went to take a look, he sent me flying half of the forest domain with a palm strike." The existence in the distance heard this and paused for a moment. Then a smiling consciousness came over. "What's so strange about that? The ultimate saint expert's consciousness could not be destroyed for 10,000 years, not to mention. That was an alchemist saint master who had once been famous throughout the various regions. It was normal for him to be able to do this with his powerful soul energy. You don't have to worry about him," the old ancestor once said. "With his injuries, even a legendary expert of the mysterious realm wouldn't be able to do anything to him. After a few more years, he will naturally disappear." The azure, ancient, profound bird finally felt a little better. After muttering a few words, it flapped its huge wings and disappeared. Yunlu School. The moment Xiaoyan and the fire dragon disappeared at the same time, the jade bead in Elder Fang's hand shattered. At this moment, in a mysterious valley in the academy, a few old men wearing black robes were looking at the broken jade pearl in front of them with serious expressions. Elder Ye was at the bottom, looking at the few old men with eyes full of respect. When this bead broke, where was that little guy? A white-bearded old man opened his turbid eyes and looked at the jade pearl for a while, then asked. This jade pearl was specially designed for the Saint rank trial participant by the Yunlu Academy, but it could be used to observe whether the trial participant was still alive. The moment the jade pearl broke, it meant that the trial participant no longer existed in this world. Elder Ye hurriedly replied, "Around the forest domain, St. Meteorite Mountain." The few old men looked at each other in confusion. Another skinny old man shook his head and sighed. "There isn't a single devil beast near the St. Meteorite Mountain, and it's even more impossible for the heavenly beast to exist. Everyone knows about this. Since that's the case, there's only one possibility. It was killed by the other experts who came to the St. Meteorite Mountain to seek treasures." The other elders nodded their heads after hearing this. Clearly they agreed with what this elder said. "What a pity." An old man with white hair at the top sighed and said, "It has been more than 10 years since the heavens blessed the Yunluo. The Saint rank trial participant that appeared with great difficulty has unfortunately fallen. Now the strength of us and the other 3 academies' new students have increased." A bald old man beside him said without a care, "Being able to die in the vicinity of the St. Meteorite Mountain is also because of his bad luck. No wonder he's the one who died." The old man in the lead glared at the latter, turned his head and said to Elder Ye Qing, "How are the other 4 students who joined with that little fellow?" Elder Yi thought for a moment and smiled. Although the academy gave the 4 of them very high treatment, their talent is really very strong. The strongest is already a middle-stage 9-star fighting monarch, and the weakest is also a late-stage 8-star fighting monarch. The old man nodded his head and thought for a moment before saying, "If that's the case, don't tell them about the death of this trial participant called Xiaoyan. Since his talent is very high, let's wait until all of them have advanced to the sovereign realm and have them become official students. Then send them to the outside world of the academy to cultivate." Ye Xing nodded respectfully, then turned around and left. Seeing Ye Qing leave, the elder in the lead suddenly sighed and said, "The death of the only Saint rank trial participant in the academy is also a big blow to us. Next year in 4 academies competition, we might face a huge crisis." The bald elder frowned and said, "Great elder, you are being too pessimistic. 10 students of the Yunlu Academy's realm in Valley. That one isn't a monstrous genius. and Yu Yang is the Saint rank trial participant from last time. Lin Dao and the others are also very talented, so they might not be able to fight against the other 3 academies. Ah, Ma Yu Yang, Lin Dao and the others. That's true, but it's not like there aren't any experts from the other 3 academies who are in the same batch as them. Take the Southern Sky Academy as an example. Mu Yu Yang might be able to fight Zhou Buyi. However, Lin Dao might not be able to defeat Lei Yunting. Furthermore, who should we send to fight this year's geniuses of the 3 courtyards? Zhou Xingyu, the little genius of the Zhou clan, has joined the Southern Sky. Xiang Shaotian of the Xiang clan has also joined the Star Sky. Some of the princesses of some major powers have also joined Liu Li. The talent of these people is weaker than Mu Yu Yang and the others. What about us? What do we have? The great elder's words instantly rendered the few elders speechless. Their eyes began to reveal a trace of seriousness. The Yunlo Academy's future was really not looking good. Without the Saint rank trial participant, the Yunlo Academy might really be slaughtered by the other 3 academies. After the darkness in front of me disappeared a trace, the sunlight shone into Xiao Yan's eyes, expelling the endless darkness in front of him. His tightly shut eyes opened bit by bit, and what entered his eyes was a patch of blue sky and white clouds. The sky was extremely clear and bright, and the white clouds dotted the sky. A gentle breeze blew, bringing along a sweet fragrance. Xiao Yan shook his head, and then he immediately leapt up like a fish. He looked at the surrounding scenery, and what he saw was an endless sea of trees. The branches and leaves were luxuriant, and the verdant trees were swaying along with the wind. It was like a rolling green wave that was sweeping over. In the distance, there were numerous huge mountain ranges that were faintly visible. The mountain ranges were endless, and in the depths of the sea of trees from time to time, a few clear and melodious cries could be heard. It was a leisurely scene. Xiao Yan looked around and immediately realized that something was not right. Before he passed out, the forest domain was in winter, but this place was full of flowers and flowers. The mountains and rivers were green, and the Saint Meteorite Mountain that pierced into the blue sky was nowhere to be seen. This instantly shocked Xiao Yan. Could it be that the mysterious ultimate saint expert had brought him to northern or southern forest domain? If that was the case, it would be a big joke. It would be impossible for the Yunluo Academy to arrive in the next few decades. This is the illusion realm I set up. Little guy, who are you? Just when Xiao Yan was at a loss, an old voice suddenly sounded. Xiao Yan was startled and looked towards the source of the voice. In the next moment, a young man in a white robe with white hair and shoulder-length hair gradually appeared. The young man was extremely handsome. His eyebrows were like sharp swords, and there was a sense of pride between his brows. His eyes seemed to be able to see through the world. As he waved his robe, cracking sounds could be heard, and every movement he made was filled with a domineering aura that could rule the world. As the supreme existence of Fighting Qi continent, Xiao Yan's disposition had already become incomparably mature. Even when faced with this ultimate saint expert that seemed to be a legend, his facial expression did not change. Immediately he cupped his fists and said respectfully, "Kid Xiao Yan, advance to the fighting monarch in the Fighting Qi continent of the lower realm." His tone was filled with determination and unyielding. The white-haired young man glanced at Xiao Yan. A bright light flashed in his eyes as he slowly spoke. "Are you trying to fool me? The Fighting Qi continent no longer has any fighting monarchies that can help it advance. It has been 10,000 years. How can there be another fighting monarch that can advance?" Xiao Yan was shocked by the sudden burst of energy from the white-haired youth. He hurriedly released a deterrent force to defend against the youth's Haohan Qi. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Yan looked at the white-haired youth. There was no joy or anger in his voice. "Senior, you must be joking. This junior doesn't know you. What's the benefit of lying to senior? This time in Fighting Qi continent, including this junior, there are a total of 5 people who have advanced. In the future, there will be even more fighting monarchies that will advance." The white-haired youth only smiled when he heard this. He didn't bother with this issue anymore. With a wave of his sleeve, a huge fiery red egg that was dozens of meters tall appeared in the sky not far away. Xiaoyan was startled. This was the huge egg that he had obtained at the bottom of the Crimson Fire Flame Wolf Cave. It was already so big. Originally, I wanted to kill you after chasing away that little black bird. But the little dragon said that it was still resting in the fire source of your chaos great monarch flame, and that you were the one who brought it out of the darkness. That's why I brought you into this illusion realm. The white-haired youth smiled and touched the huge egg beside him. His eyes were filled with endless love and joy. Hearing the white-haired youth's straightforward words, not only was Xiaoyan stunned, but he also let out a bitter laugh. He respectfully said, "Since that's the case, Junior will thank Senior for not killing me." The white-haired youth waved his hand and said, "I have been dead for tens of thousands of years. This Senior sounds too awkward. My name is Yi Tianchen, and you can call me Elder Yi." Yi Tianchen. Xiaoyan muttered in his heart, then respectfully said, "Elder Yi." Yi Tianchen smiled and moved slightly to Xiaoyan's side. He looked at Xiaoyan a few times, and Yi Tianchen nodded in satisfaction. The little guy's body is quite strong. Xiaoyan was speechless when he heard that. He looked at Yi Tianchen's young face. He kept calling himself me, which sounded even more awkward. When he thought of Yi Tianchen's supreme saint-level strength, Xiaoyan didn't care about these details anymore. He looked at Yi Tianchen with bright eyes and said respectfully, "Elder Yi, can I ask you something?" Yi Tianchen glanced at Xiaoyan. He said lightly, "I know what you want to ask." "That's good too. I have been idling alone for 10,000 years. Now that someone has come, I can relieve my boredom." After saying that without waiting for Xiaoyan to speak, he waved his sleeve. In an instant, a raging wind blew and both of them disappeared. In the next moment, when Xiaoyan opened his eyes again, he was already standing on a huge square. The square was made of bluestone and looked extremely majestic. Xiaoyan looked around him, but there was not a single mountain range in his sight. It was as if the sky was above his head, and he could hear the rapid sound of the wind. Xiaoyan couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Here, this should be the highest point of this illusory realm. This is the highest peak of this illusion realm. You can look down on the sea of trees for thousands of miles here. An open heart, although it is only an illusion realm. What do you think? Little Xiaoyan, how do you feel? Yi Tianchen slowly walked a few steps. He had already reached the end of the square, but his voice still echoed in Xiaoyan's ears. Xiaoyan could feel the vastness of the high ground. A strong wind blew over, bringing along the sound of rolling green waves. It really made him feel broad-minded. This is a really good place. Xiaoyan sighed from the bottom of his heart. After this interlude, he had become less sensitive to Yi Tianchen's identity as the Supreme Saint. As if he had noticed that Xiaoyan had gradually relaxed his state of mind, Yi Tianchen smiled. He instantly returned to his original position. He briefly organized his thoughts before he slowly said, "Tens of thousands of years ago, Little Long and I were seriously injured in Forest Domain. Little Long had no choice but to return to his initial state. He had barely managed to preserve his origin, but in order to avoid being found, it used up a large amount of its remaining origin to create a black world to hide within. After that, nearly 10,000 years had passed. I met you just as the fire of life was about to be extinguished. Otherwise, do you think that Xiaolong would listen to an imperial warrior's orders with his original personality?" Yi Tianchen said. He looked at Xiaoyan with a smile that was not a smile. Xiaoyan also smiled in astonishment. A trace of happiness flashed across his heart. "My body is fallen. Fortunately, my soul is extremely powerful. Plus, I have some special experiences in the past, and I have secretly created such a vast illusory realm. I have used the Saint Meteorite Mountain in the outside world to confuse outsiders. It has been tens of thousands of years, and I have finally calmed down." After hearing this, Xiaoyan finally understood what was going on. No wonder Man Yun said that even heavenly venerates couldn't find treasures in the Saint Meteorite Mountain. It turned out that the Saint Meteorite Mountain was just a mountain range that could confuse one's vision. Everything was in this illusion realm, but this was also an excellent method. With Yi Tianchen's powerful soul force setting up this illusion realm, It was likely that even an ordinary Supreme Saint wouldn't be able to discover it. Once again, gaining a new understanding of the ultimate Saint expert's strength, Xiaoyan hesitated for a moment and said, "Thank you, Elder Yi, for telling this kid. This kid has a presumptuous request. I hope Elder Yi will agree." Yi Tianchen chuckled and stretched out his right hand. A red flame appeared in the former's hand. He looked at the dumbstruck Xiaoyan and said, "Xiao Long still needs your Chaos Great Monarch flame to cultivate. I am also interested in you. If you want to leave, I will not agree to it." The flame in the former's hand was surprisingly Xiaoyan's Chaos Great Monarch flame. At this moment, the Chaos Great Monarch flame had no intention of resisting in Yi Tianchen's hand. It obediently stayed in the former's hand and was extremely obedient. After a moment of shock, Xiaoyan returned to normal. After all, the one in front of him was the most powerful Supreme Saint in the world. It was normal for him to have such a technique, but making a fuss over it would only make him seem ignorant. "May I know what's the matter with Elder Yi?" Xiaoyan asked curiously. He was just a small emperor. What could interest a Supreme Saint? It was definitely not a pile of junk in the storage ring. As a Supreme Saint, there was nothing Yi Tianchen had never seen before. Could he still be interested in the heavenly beasts, heavenly cores, or the fiery spiritual blood? After thinking for a moment, Xiaoyan suddenly looked at the Chaos Great Monarch flame in the former's hand. The most precious thing on his body right now was undoubtedly the Chaos Great Monarch flame. As a powerful monarch flame of a great world, its value was self-evident. "Little fellow, you're quite attentive." "That's right, I'm more interested in your Chaos Great Monarch flame." Seeing Xiaoyan looking at the Chaos Great Monarch flame in his hand, Yi Tianchen smiled faintly and skillfully controlled the Chaos Great Monarch flame. Looking at Yi Tianchen, who was controlling the Chaos Great Monarch flame with ease, Xiaoyan couldn't help but think of the cave underneath the Crimson Fire Flame Wolf. The first time the Fire Dragon saw the Chaos Great Monarch flame, it was also filled with surprise. When it thought of the Xiao Yi and the 9 profound golden thunder devouring each other, it really made Xiaoyan somewhat puzzled. After a long while, Yi Tianchen said under Xiaoyan's impatient expression, "Why do you have the fire source of 3,000 thunder chaos? Great monarch flames in your chaos. Great monarch flame.